Hey everyone, it's Traci from Golden Dog Adventure Company, and I'm here today with Kara from Canine
Hi.
Academy of Berwick and her furry friend Macaroni.
He says hi.
So how you doing, Kara?
I'm good. How are you?
Awesome,
Yeah,
awesome, thank you.
thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm really excited because
Yeah.
it's been a long time since we've done these lunch and learns. It's been a little over a year, and I don't know if you've been with us for a while in our community, you probably know that we used to do puppy lunch and learns. And we ran them for quite a while, and now we're looking to get back into lunch and learns in a general sense, not necessarily just focusing on puppies, but just topics that you care about in general. So today, one of the things that we are going to talk about is off-leash and recall training, but from a relaxation perspective. And that is something that Kara and Macaroni are experts on. So we're glad to have you here. And Kara
Thank you.
is actually our featured expert for the month. If you have been over to our calendar at goldendognh.com, you'll see all the great events we have coming up, not only this week, but throughout the rest of the month. So make sure you check out that calendar. And what we want to do too, guys, is we want to get your questions. If you have thoughts, if you have ideas, if you have questions for Kara, this is your chance to post them wherever you're watching, whether it is on Facebook or YouTube. And if you're watching live or on the replay, it doesn't matter. If you're watching on the replay, post your questions as well and tag Kara or myself in the group, and we will make sure to get your questions answered as well. So Kara, tell us a little bit about yourself and Macaroni and what you do at Canine Academy.
Yeah. So I'm Kara Dello Russo Brady. I own the Canine Academy over in Berwick, Maine, and Kara's Pet Care, a dog walking company that's focused on training. Macaroni is my 5-year-old, almost 5, Lab Norwegian Elkhound mix. So he's a really interesting dog. I'm excited for him to demo for you guys today.
Yeah, he is very, very sweet. He, as Kara was saying, he's kind of in tune with emotions. And I can just see that by being here in his presence. He's like been listening to us. He knows something's going on. He sees this little container here of yummy treats. But, you know, he's calm. He's relaxed already. So I don't know. Do we have to rile him up first or?
I might
He's
try.
already
I might
so
try
relaxed.
to. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, tell me
He's like, oh,
about
you
what
guys
we're going to
talking
be
about me.
talking today, because it's interesting that you're taking the perspective of off-leash and recall training from a relaxation perspective. So what exactly does that mean?
Yeah, so it's a fairly newer concept that I've been working on. So basically, we have a lot of these relaxation exercises that people tend to practice separately from their recall work and their on-leash work. You know, they go into a class, things are high arousal, things are amped up, and they're like, okay, we're going to work on skills. And to me, it's akin to trying to teach a 5-year-old child how to sit at the table.
Yeah.
Right? We want them to do their math homework. They're amped up, they're excited, they want to be playing their video games and doing stuff instead. Is it really about the math? I don't think it's about the math. I think it's about that ability to sit at the table.
That's a good point. Okay.
Yeah. So what we're working on with our dogs, the work really starts at home before we even start on a training session or being able to learn some leash skills. But so many people contact us for, off leash training, and it really has absolutely nothing to do with their off leash skills. I mean, in an isolated environment, they say come, their dog comes to them. It's about being out in the world and all of these distractions and the dog being over the top all the time. And any dog, I mean, if I bring him outside with his Norwegian Elkhound half, he's going to be looking for squirrels, and he's very interested, but he's in tune with me because we've done so much practice on keeping his arousal below thresholds before we get into the off-leash training.
Okay, interesting. Well, Let me just ask you guys too, because we're broadcasting a new way today. Are you getting any feedback at all from us? I have the technology set up a little bit different today. The hardware is set up a little bit differently, and I want to just make sure you're not getting any feedback from the double way that we're doing this here. So if somebody doesn't mind posting, if everything looks good on your end, we'd love to just know that you're not. Okay, no feedback. Awesome. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. All right, so what do you want to show us today? Because I'm really interested in how this kind of ties in to what people will be learning on Sunday as well at the Canine Meditation.
Yeah, so this is the same idea.
Okay.
So basically what we're working with our dog and their off-leash skills, right? If you have a dog that you go outside and I mean they're vibrating with excitement, they're looking around, you want to really take note of that. You want to take note of how they're feeling, what their body language is telling you. Right now, we can see, with Macaroni, his ears are nice and relaxed, his head's on the ground. He's not fully relaxed. He's sort of laying on both hips, almost ready to spring up. I think he knows we're doing something. But notice he's kind of responsive to what I'm doing. And what I want is to reward him as he brings himself back down.
Right.
And consistent practice with this, you start right in your living room, just like this. You can be watching a movie. I've got my little thing of treats here. In an ideal world, you have a dog that maybe doesn't pick up on as much as he does. He knows what the treat setup looks like and things like that. But switching that up and maybe having it in a different area of your house as you're practicing, the idea, it's a little bit related to a concept called free shaping. So when we're working on free shaping, we're essentially saying, I'm going to let my dog do what they're going to do, and then I'm going to reward what I like. So versus cueing and telling them what to do, because telling someone to relax, I don't know. Have you ever had a panic attack?
Not
you know what it's
the same
like?
way of, like people describe, yeah.
Yeah.
Where you're going with it.
Yeah. So when you're in this heightened emotional state and someone's like, you really need to calm down, right? You need to relax. That's what so many people, when they're struggling with their recall and their leash skills, that's what they're trying to do with their dog. They're trying to say, you need to like calm down. And how do people work on that when they have anxiety? A lot of them meditate. A lot of them work on bringing themselves back down in an area that really is nothing going on, right? It's not, it's difficult for me. It's difficult for a lot of people with a busy brain or a lot of dogs bred for work. A lot of these high drive dogs coming out of the shelter, or maybe the, poodle type mixes that we're seeing these days that were really bred for some energy.
Okay.
When they get outside, we wanted a dog and we bred them, whatever that might look like, that was ready for work. And so what that means is they're going to be over arousal, aroused in every environment. And so what we want to teach them is how to relax, but it starts at home.
Well, that makes sense because it's in more of a controlled environment.
Yes.
Okay. And now, do you have like what you would consider high value treats here, or just kind of a mix of things?
For this, actually, we really don't want to use high value treats because I don't know if you've ever seen it in your own dogs, but you start to break out the roast beef or the steak or something really exciting, and the dog's like, I'll do anything. What you want me to do? I'll lay down.
My dog is exactly.
Yeah, the herding breeds. Yeah, definitely. And so when we have a dog that they're like, oh my gosh, I see the treat pouch come out. Most dogs I see, they actually amp up in arousal, right? When we start our training session.
Right.
So I always want to start my training from this.
Okay.
And so Max is showing you what he's been rewarded for many times before. The difficult part for us as trainers sometimes is we're essentially rewarding an internal state, or our opinion of their internal state. So I can tell you times when he's actually relaxed or when he's not. Like right now, you'll notice, you can see, but maybe they can't right now, that his eyes are kind of looking up at me.
Oh, he's focused.
Right?
What's going on?
I move my hand and he pops back up. That's not relaxed. I'm not going to reward that, right? I'm not going for his body position right now. I'm rewarding him bringing himself back down, and I can tell with my own dog. And one of the things I encourage you guys to practice at home is make note of what body language you're seeing in your dog. So how you would start this is you would put them on a leash. Usually he's pretty used to this, so I don't need to with him. But if you have your leash on, that way they're not going to, the dog toys or off to the side. And then you would just wait them out. And what you're going to do is just practice every time you see them show a sign of relaxation. You place a treat between their paws calmly. No marker, no clicker, no yes word, nothing like that, because we don't want to bring their arousal up. So we're just teaching them, as you bring yourself back down, good things happen.
Well, now let me ask too, you have this rug on the floor. Is this his place?
Nope.
So it doesn't matter. They don't need to be in a place while you're practicing this.
No, it can be helpful to start if your dog is used to some sort of cue like that. But I actually recommend not cueing it. The reason why is we want to teach them to default this. There's almost no dog that I want to be in a higher arousal state around my house, or when I'm outside, or when I start a walk, or when I, work on some recall. I want them to be able to think clearly and to listen. And so what I find where most people's training fails is that they don't do enough of this sort of work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, must have heard
Hey,
something.
buddy, that's okay. Yeah, but see here, we can redirect him quite easily.
Well, and tell me too, because Macaroni to me doesn't seem like he is much of a reactive dog.
No.
How will this be difficult for owners of reactive dogs
Yeah.
to teach this? I mean, it seems like it's a benefit, but will there be a different process through which they'll try to teach this?
Absolutely fantastic question. Yeah, so some of the dogs that, and I'll post in the Golden Dog Community Forum so that you have all different types of dogs. But I've had a dog, the longest dog it took me in a training session, which is always good. I can start this while I'm taking my history and understanding that during a behavior consult. But the longest that this has ever taken me was actually a 2-year-old golden doodle named Winston. And it took him, his owners were complaining. I mean, I think he had some underlying, real generalized anxiety disorder. He was amped up, when they walked from the living room to the kitchen, like jumping, mouthing, 3 years old,
Oh, wow.
right? So something's telling me there's an unmet need in his life. There's something that's happening for him that he's frustrated. But on top of it, it's this generalized anxiety and really being able to calm him down. So they practiced this only in their living room for like a month. And we went from an hour and a half in that first session to under 5 minutes.
Wow.
And think about on a daily basis, like you can't get through anything. If that kid's running around the house and you're trying to get them to do math homework, I mean, there's nothing you can say or do in that moment unless you practice this in a controlled setting, a distraction-free environment, and you practice bringing themselves back down.
And then I assume that you do recommend practicing it with distractions.
Yes,
as you feel you've mastered it in the controlled environment. Okay.
Yeah, my rule is I don't move up into a more distracting environment until they can do this in under about 3 minutes. That's my general rule. I want to get most dogs to in their house with nothing going on. But this is a really great exercise when you have maybe 2 dogs that are heightened by each other. You can practice this on leashes away from each other so they learn how to relax in the same room. Or maybe a dog, with strangers, if they're not totally over threshold the second someone pulls in a driveway, this is really great. And if they are, this is still great to practice when there's nothing going on. And you'll generally find that over time, they'll get better at that and easier.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Do you have any questions about it?
You asking Macaroni or me?
You.
Because he looked right at you.
He's like,
Mom, I don't have any questions. I'm good to go.
He's like, I think I'm good. I'm checking things out. I'm trying to figure out.
Well, let's see here. We've got a comment here. So this must be Michelle, even though it doesn't say her name. It says, so Brutus is totally food motivated. I'm thinking even calmly placing a treat down will cause some arousal. He'll be looking for the next treat.
So
thoughts on that?
Yeah, great question. So what you would want to do is use a leash. You could even put this leash on a hook on the wall, or sometimes I'll put the leash over a doorknob and I'll just sit a little out of their reach if you think they'll get amped up. And then what you'll do is you'll actually use the lowest value treat you can find.
Okay.
So
might be their dog food mostly.
Their dog food. Yeah. I've had people use a grain of rice. I've had people use little pieces of carrot. Like this is actually a really great way to use a low value treat that they don't actually enjoy that much. Okay. Probably the only time you'll ever hear a dog trainer say that. Yeah, so what you could do is if I have a particularly hyper dog or a dog that gets over aroused, I'm literally going to ignore all of the other behaviors they give me. And when they show me the next step in relaxation, I'm going to place that treat between their paws.
Okay.
And if you think they're going to come at you to the point where you have to do something, you want to have them on a leash hook or on a tether and sit just outside of their range.
So how many steps are there in this process? You say next step.
Yeah.
Like a set number?
Yeah. So good question. It's a little bit intuitive depending on the dog. Okay. But you really need to start in an environment that they're consistently able to relax. So notice Max got up and walked away and I put him on a leash.
Yep.
And then I ignored him this whole time. Yeah. And then I waited for him to bring himself back down. And this to me looks truly relaxed.
That does, yeah.
Like he's
because his hips are probably laying different now too, right?
Yeah, he's over on one side.
Okay.
He heard me get it, but that's okay. He's over on one side. He had his head down. His ears were in a neutral position. But what I find is we start to ask our dogs to do things, specifically our reactive dogs. We say, oh my God, I don't want you to do what you're doing. So I'm going to ask you to do these other things, but that can actually increase arousal over time. So what we're working on with a dog that is maybe reactive or maybe has really high anxiety or any of those sorts of things is we're going to give them a distraction-free environment that they can start with nothing going on. Living room is perfect with no one home at a time no one's around, and wait for them to relax themselves down. Yeah, and what you'll get is a dog like this.
Yeah.
Right? Because what most people want when they're trying to solve the jumping, the mouthing, the running away, they want their dog to be able to do this, to nap on the floor in the middle of the room and be happy, right? Be stress-free.
Well, Michelle, that was a great question that you asked, and I want to know, is anybody else watching who has a similar problem or question? Because if you want Kara to answer it specific to your needs, this is the time, especially if you are not joining us on Sunday for the canine meditation. This gives you a chance to really bring up your scenario so that we can see if we can address it for you. So with people attending on Sunday, are we going to kind of be going through this again and be in a distracted environment?
Yeah, and my goal is if some of these people want to bring their dog, I know we have limited spaces to do that because we want them to be able to relax in that environment, right? So we want to make sure everybody has their own space, whether it's indoor, outdoor, and then we can teach the dogs how to relax and give you some hands-on practice. And if owners are up for it, maybe working with another person's dog or sitting outside of their circle while they're there, so they get the practice. A dog like Brutus, man, that's a perfect dog to work with in a distraction-free environment, and then sort of inch up the stimulation. I find higher drive dogs, people think when they don't have an off switch that they need to work them more, and it's actually the exact opposite. Those are the dogs that exactly need this exercise. And it might take an hour and a half the first time, but watch a movie. You don't have to be really doing anything. You're just kind of watching them.
Well, it would probably be a great idea if you are attending on Sunday that you try using some of these techniques at home before then, right? To see if you can, or at least to try it and to see what kind of progress you make so that you have more pointed questions for Kara and her team when you attend on Sunday. So that makes sense. He just makes it look so easy. But I know you've been working with him a lot already.
Oh yeah, I've had him since he was 3 weeks old. And if his, arousal was high, essentially we didn't do what he wanted to do, right? And it's really, really great because it looks like someone in the comments said a good exercise to use with Rocky when he's incessantly demanding attention. Yes, because so many times we start to see this barking, we see all this stuff. Imagine if your dog could do this to get what they want. If they came up to you and did this to get their bathroom break in the morning, or they came up to you and did this to be fed. That's what we want, right?
Yeah, because everything is more enjoyable with your dog. If they're relaxed, you're relaxed.
And when we're talking about our off-leash recall skills, again, we're getting that kid to sit at the table. You guys, I know everybody watching this probably can say come to their dog on a long line and work on getting a treat to them, right? That's a pretty simple skill. The skills itself, super simple in dog training. Teaching your dog over time how to relax, more difficult, really challenging for a lot of dogs. But this is helpful for dogs with any problem. And you start with the mat, you start by making it really clear in a low distraction environment. And depending on your dog and what their triggers are, we can, amp it up over time.
Well, one person says this seems similar to behavioral downs, training between the ears, except they recommend standing on the leash and don't suggest giving treats. Do you find the giving treats to make a significant impact?
Yes, definitely, because we want to teach our dog that good things happen when they're relaxed. So we don't want to put them in a state what it sounds like you're describing, and I'm not familiar with this particular training protocol, but we're not putting the dog into a state of learned helplessness, right? We're teaching them that they can do whatever they want, but good things happen to happen when they're relaxed. So we don't want to force our dog into doing anything, because I work on a needs-based model. If I felt like I lived with somebody that I couldn't trust, or I wasn't safe to feel how I'm feeling with, that would be no life for me. So our culture of obedience over everything, this is a compassionate exercise, not a demanding militant one. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I like that approach.
Yeah. With a needs-based model, I'm looking at him, right? He's not able to do this if I'm not consistently meeting his needs, his exercise needs, his needs for connection, his needs for relaxation, all of that stuff. And to me, a dog that needs, 6 to 8 hours a day, even if they're a dog that's bred for work, if they can't do this, that means something's wrong. And that might be a visit
Well,
to.
that's a good point, because if somebody's trying these exercises and they're not getting their dog to relax, is your dog balanced in the other things that it needs?
Right.
Canine enrichment, brain stimulation, physical stimulation. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, and that might take, meeting with a veterinary behaviorist or a canine behavior consultant, or something like that to figure out, what exactly is it? Why can't your dog achieve this?
Interesting, because we have had some of our members have a problem with their dogs settling. They describe it as their dog not having an off switch.
Yeah.
So there's some other factors I think there that need to be looked at just to see.
Yeah, absolutely. A majority of time, I would say pain is a huge part of that.
Yeah.
I mean, I've met dogs that can't relax, and that maybe the rescue cleared them when they had X-rays, but when we really look into it, we found some underlying pain. Sometimes it's that their life is too stressful. Like if they're not a daycare dog, but they're consistently going to daycare and ramping up and learning to be stressed out, that can be really common. The other part of it is if they're not getting enough exercise, but not exercise without a lack of impulse control. I'm talking decompression walk, long line in the woods, a lot of sniffing.
Yeah, all the different variations of walks that you can do if
Yeah.
you are in tune with what your dog needs, for sure.
Okay. Yeah, and in appropriate environments.
Yeah,
right.
Which are some of the things that we try to offer at Golden Dog.
Yeah, which is great.
So, yeah.
And a dog like him, again, like I say this all the time, he is the most amazing dog for me. But he's not a dog park or a daycare dog. I own a dog day school, and he doesn't go. Yeah, it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with him. I'm looking at what his needs are, what he needs, not what I think he needs.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, this is probably a conversation for another lunch and learn, because we're almost at our 30 minutes. But, obviously as a trainer, you're very in tune with Macaroni's needs. But how would a normal person know that, they take their dog to daycare? How would they know? Other than, the blatant signs like your dog cowering in the corner or not getting along with other dogs. How do people know that their dog's not a fit for daycare?
Yeah, so really great point. One of the things that I hear from people all the time is they take their dog to daycare and they bring them out and they seem more amped up. And if I get that complaint from a client too, I'm looking into it, because they might see nothing at school or daycare, but the dog gets home and I mean they're going from really amped up to exhausted. Okay. That would be a stress response. Or if you feel like they haven't drank water or gone to the bathroom all day, a lot of times people will complain about a regular daycare facility, but it's sort of like us. If we're in fight or flight mode all day and we're really stressed out, we're not thinking about drinking or eating or any of those things. So keep an eye on that. If you think your dog's not, there's a difference between being hydrated, after a lot of activity and like truly downing a bowl of water because they haven't met their own needs all day. Yeah, so that can be a really big deal. So notice how relaxed this is.
Absolutely.
And so you're getting to this point where you're like, he's laying down on his side and he's looking for belly rubs, and there's a new person in our house. We're here filming. Right. We've got a different routine going on, and he's a rug, right?
Boy, does this work for humans? Because if I was relaxed and I constantly got food offered to me, I would be in heaven.
My husband does that. Full disclosure, I am like an ADHD. I like to bounce between things and be doing. Yeah. And so it's actually really helpful for me in meditation. I work on it. I try to do it, but it's really helpful for me to be like, if I can just take 5 minutes to sit here and bring myself back down. So it's a great exercise to work on together.
I agree.
Together
too. We've got another comment. So I thought about attending Sunday, but Lucy is dog reactive. Would it be beneficial for me to attend alone?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's one of the things we talked about.
Yeah, I will even lend people my puppy if they want to practice. We have a lab puppy who's pretty social and loves going to school and meeting everybody, and she's right in the height of adolescence. She's about 11 months old and could always use the practice. Yep. So if anybody would like to attend, we can certainly lend them one of our dogs too. Yeah.
And that's a great idea, because in the event write-up, we did put that if you do have a reactive dog and you don't think they'd be comfortable in this environment, please come without them, because there's so much stuff that you can learn. Or even if you just don't want to bring your dog because it's not really, there's no physical exercise happening, there's some mental enrichment happening, but it really is about teaching you this technique so that you can apply that at home, as Kara mentioned, in a controlled environment, go through the methodology here that she's going to teach us, and then bring your dog to a more distracted environment and practice what you learn. So.
I mean, most of the people that are coming on Sunday, right? Their dog probably has never done this in their living room. So coming out and even doing it on your front steps would be the next step, not in a facility. So this is definitely an exercise. If you're coming on Sunday, way more beneficial to leave your dog at home and let us lend you a dog to practice with.
Okay, well, good. That's great information. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see here. We've got Jethro is high energy. He went to DDC and I stopped it because he would get totally overstimulated. He would become a bit less nutty and relaxes more now. So that, and I know who Jethro is. This is our member Cindy. So that kind of plays into what you were saying. Dog not enjoying daycare because of what they're exhibiting when they come home at the end of the day.
Yeah, and that's not the fault of anybody. Like, just to be clear, some dogs,
well, you don't know until you try.
You don't know until you try. Yeah, and if a dog, the internal state is really hard to measure, so nothing can happen, but we can be noticing a dog struggling, and it depends on that dog, their past traumas, their past experiences. I hesitate to say I actually over fostered quite a bit when Max was a puppy, and I feel like I created a little bit of stress with him around other dogs at times. And so I just know, what environments I want to put him in and what I don't, to maintain his, he's fine here, he's happy here, his level of calm, and he loves the trails and he loves everyone he meets, as long as it's not a pack of 10 dogs, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with anyone's dog for that.
It's just very helpful knowing that, so that you can give your dog the best positive life, So.
Absolutely. Like, I'm a person that, I like meeting one-on-one with people. I'm a pretty social person, but I'm not a person that, someone invites me to a gathering of more than 5 people and my heart's in my stomach. I'm not really interested.
Same with dogs.
Yeah, same with dogs.
Like to run with the pack, and
that's
why we're changing up a lot of our programs too, to have some smaller groups, because we're realizing that we want people to have the social connection, but we also want them to be in tune with their dog and what their dog needs and enjoys. So
specifically,
so I'm glad you said that.
Specifically our reactive dog owners, especially, who feel like they're struggling because their dog can't do all of these things, or they aren't ready for it, and that's okay. If they're better off at home, you probably won't see him on Sunday. If he's there on Sunday, he'll probably be chilling out in my car. That's okay.
That's why we keep telling our members, you can come to an event without your dog. Don't feel like, to be included, you need your dog there, because your dog may not want to be there or be comfortable there, as Kara mentioned. So whether you're in our community or whether you're a member, you're always welcome at our events, with or without your dog. But our key thing is that all the events that we host, dogs are always welcome. But it doesn't mean that dogs always have to be there. So just want to clarify that. So let's see. Eileen says, how can this be applied to outside work?
So you would start in your living room, then work up maybe the lowest stimulation outdoor area you can find, like your backyard if it's fenced or kind of private. Maybe it's your front doorstep. It depends on what things look like for you. And then normally from there, I'll switch up to like the trailhead, like a really quiet, nothing going on trail. And then I'll often practice this with our clients' dogs, like outside of a fenced dog park where there's dogs and people walking right by. You can position yourself as far as possible away from that, but still kind of observe the commotion and practice relaxing. And I find that could be even more helpful than some of these engage-disengage games or lap protocol or whatever you're working on, specific to a trigger, because teaching our dog how to relax in general and do this while there's things going on, huge. And we want to keep them below threshold this whole time, right? So if we're seeing any sign of stress or them amping up or getting overstimulated on the leash, we might want to take it back in terms of the environment. And some days, you'll have days where your dog is capable of the living room that day, but downtown Portsmouth the next. It depends on the dog.
I like those different ideas of how to kind of expose your dog slowly. I like that outside the fence at the dog park. That makes a lot of sense. I have heard people doing that, specifically to just see other dogs, see a pack of dogs, see what their behavior is, and then get a sense from their research or their, viewing perspective, how their dog's reacting so that they can make better choices. So that's a great idea.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
that.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
Okay.
I'm glad that makes sense.
Let's see. Cindy says Jethro doesn't go to Golden Dog events either because of high stimulation, and he used to.
Yeah.
And what we thought, because of the way he was very friendly with people. He was friendly with dogs, but he was just very overstimulated and very talkative. So Cindy started leaving him at home and coming to the events on her own.
Oh, awesome.
Because especially if you live alone too, and you have a dog that is reactive. I also have a reactive dog. I live with my husband, however, and another dog that is sometimes reactive, depends on if she's around Dakota. We still want to get out and we want to interact with people and we want to be social. And just because you have a reactive dog doesn't mean that you're not welcome or that you can't be included if your dog is not comfortable in that environment. So I'm glad Cindy brought that up, because that is an example of one person who has, transitioned from putting her dog in more of a comfortable state and still being involved with our events and learning all of the great things that our featured experts and our training partners have to teach.
Definitely.
So,
yeah. And this is absolutely the event. Like, don't bring your dog if they're not ready for it. I love meeting your dogs, but I like meeting happy dogs. And I want them to be happy where they are and not, panting and hyperventilating. We want them to be nice and calm. And if you don't think they can look like this within 10 minutes in a new environment, I would say it's not for them.
Right. And you're going to be stressed if you come with your dog and your dog's not going to be able to feel comfortable during this this activity. So I know the event is just about sold out, if it isn't sold out already, but please, if you're interested, put your name on a wait list, because depending on how many people are bringing their dogs, we may be able to open it up to a few more humans that are coming without their dogs. So you just go to goldendognh.com, click on adventures, and you'll see that upcoming event for Sunday at the top of the calendar list. And that's at 2:00 on Sunday in Berwick or South Berwick?
Berwick.
Yeah. Okay, because we're in South
right
Berwick
on the line.
Okay.
Yeah, we're right on the line. Berwick, South Berwick. So you'll be about 2 minutes out of downtown South Berwick.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, guys, thanks for watching today. That's our half hour. We appreciate the questions. Would love your feedback too. Do you want to see more lunch and learns? We really had a great response to this when we did this about a year and a half ago. So feel free to give us your feedback. Kara's got some tips as well that she'll put in the community for us. Any last thoughts before we wrap up?
No, happy to help. I can't wait to meet you all on Sunday, and I'll get some resources posted of doing this with all different types of dogs on the community forum.
Macaroni, thank you so much for your time.
He's like, you're welcome.
He's like, I know exactly what you're talking right to me. I know exactly what you're saying. I'm so focused.
That's crazy.
You were a great demonstrator.
He's like, oh, thank you so much. More cheese.
Oh, and actually, before we wrap up, let's ask this one more question. So Madison says, can the dog do this on 2 different levels without confusion? My Aussie is very good with me, sleeps by my feet during work. We did AKC Canine Good Citizen. However, she barks anytime my husband sits down to play. She does this to him only.
Oh, I would specifically have your husband practice this. Sometimes a person can teach a dog to be a little high arousal all the time if they're constantly riling them up. With him, I can certainly rile him up with toys, but that minute to kind of come down it's pretty easy. And that's all we want. We really want them to just be able to do this again.
She was trying to rile him up before we went live, but he is just such a calm, chill dog because he's had such great training. So
we're working on it.
But she did try.
Yeah, I tried. I tried to make him really excitable for you guys. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate you inviting me into your home as well.
Anytime.
And thank you again, guys. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon, and we hope to see you on Sunday.
Sounds good.
All right. Have a great day.